Hello, welcome to Love Food, Hate Money, the show where we talk about food, how much we love it, and we prove it by spending all of our money on it. I'm going to be your host, Jonah. This is co-host Courtney.
Hey.
And then we are doing a morning recording, which means we have a coffee personality in the house.
Oh my God.
Mr. Adam.
Adam Holliefield, everyone.
How are you?
Applause.
Yay!
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming over. It's been a long time.
I never wake up before noon. It's great.
You said morning show, and now it's 11 o'clock.
Yeah, well, for us it's morning.
Yeah.
For you, it's like midday.
We had to shift into gear. Let's talk about drinks.
All right, what are we drinking?
We're drinking more pear coffee because that's the coffee that we drink recently.
And we also have our own wholesale account now.
Basically,
We buy 2 pounds at a time.
Baller.
it's better that way for us. And then, rather than visiting every 3 days and we're like, whoa, we went through 8 ounces again. So we're drinking an Ethiopian
That's how you know
pear.
you've made it.
Yeah, and we're not wasting any packaging now because we bring reusable containers. So
Yeah, that's true.
we love the planet, guys.
Love food, hate money, save the planet. Coffee. Adam's not had Malort before, so we're revisiting Jepson's Malort.
Mm-hmm.
He's smelled it a couple of times already. Little does he know that's where it stops being nice. It doesn't smell bad,
Shoe shine.
Go for it.
and there's nothing like a good little bit of shoe shine.
All right, down the hatch. Huh. It's lingering.
Oh,
It's still there.
Yeah. It made me leak immediately that time. I just spit so
Yeah.
much.
It's still going.
Are you a convert to the Jepson's Malort?
Why? What's the point of it?
It's a Chicago thing.
I don't know. What
We
the
got
point
it
of
as a
is.
gag gift, and now we make our friends gag on the gift.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've had worse. Worse coffee than that, probably.
That's
That's
impressive.
and disgusting.
All right.
Well, it's 10:59, which means we can start drinking wine now.
That's true. 10:58 is not wine time. 10:59 is wine time. What is it, Courtney?
It's a red.
Good job. You actually know what this one is because you poured it.
I poured it.
And you
It's-
can read.
It's really good with liver.
And fava beans.
Mm.
Chianti Rufina. Vittoria di Basciano. 2018.
What's it supposed to
Chianti.
taste like?
It's supposed to taste like
Jelly beans.
yeah. You had notes of jelly bean, Jolly Rancher. What do you think it tastes like? I'm not going to be able to taste it right because I just had the Malort and then everything's going to be...
Washed some Malort down with coffee, and then I had it.
Yeah, the mix of things that you're drinking over there is next level.
Sounded like a blackberry bomb.
I also got dark fruit on it when I had it initially, but apparently it's like aged red fruit is what I was told when I was tasting it in class.
What counts as red fruit? Raspberries?
Well, the red ones. Without overcomplicating things. Raspberries, red cherries.
Well, apples are red, Jonah, and that's an orchard fruit according to you. So
Apples, technically. Yep. We actually, it's funny, we had a conversation about that in wine class. There's a guy that consistently tastes red apple when he's tasting white wines, and one of the girls was like, I love that you taste that. Also, you need to work on tasting that because, anyone that sees that is going to think you're losing your mind. That's what you can taste, but also, we have to find a way to word it better.
pick a new fruit.
We boiled it down to, he was tasting, if you bite into a red apple, their skins are relatively thick, and they've got kind of that tannicky, waxy green quality. And so he one of the ways that he picks up pyrazines in white wine is that waxy green marker. So that's what he tastes.
Mm.
But most people just say green bell pepper and can make that quick connection where he goes the long way around.
Yeah. I get a lot of lettuce off the skin of gala apples.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Bad ones.
The
Not
ones
in
who are
season.
not good.
Like a lettuce.
Yeah.
So I could see how you could get that.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's that green quality, but the red apple specific call, every time we're when we look at him when's
you
the last
okay?
time you had an apple? We're also sitting there tasting passion fruit and green bell peppers, and he's like, red apple, baby. We're like, you everything's subjective, so you're not wrong. But also, how did we get here?
Yeah.
But no, this is supposed to be red fruit. It's got some volatile acidity, like Chiantis typically will have. So it's got a little bit of like an aged balsamic note to it, strawberry, the red cherry.
Well, it's
dried
11:01 now, so we have to stop drinking.
Mm.
That actually, it's significantly different than the last time that I had it.
Really?
I really like it.
It was like pretty tight when I tasted it before, and now the hot bottle's open for a while, so it's fallen apart a little bit, but it drinks nicer in my opinion.
There you go. What are the debatables on this podcast? Like brown sugar Pop-Tarts or bomb?
Oh yeah, are you team brown sugar Pop-Tart?
Yeah.
Thank God.
And
Fucking wrong.
smooth creamy peanut butter.
What
Not
brand
crunchy.
though?
Yeah, I'll take it all. I mean, Skippy, Jif, like generic is all fine. I'm not Jonah, but no crunchy.
Thank God.
The world doesn't need any more Jonas. So
No crunchy is right though, because otherwise it's like not peanut butter, then it's peanut crunchy. If you serve me any sort of crunchy butter, I'm gonna be upset.
Mm-hmm.
aggressive. Okay. I'm really excited to have you on because we talked about doing an episode probably like 4 months ago.
Yeah.
Because we came out and toured your place of business.
Yep.
But I think we'll get to that. We'll start at the beginning. Because you have worked in coffee for how many years now?
Since 2015, so just about 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did you start?
The OG Bergie's Coffee in downtown Gilbert. Rest in peace.
Rip to the king.
Yep. Closing down, but an Arizona staple. And then from there, moved on to Press Coffee. Got out of coffee for a little bit. Came back in with Courtney, starting Mythical Coffee in the early days, and now have moved on to kind of coffee production, running a cold brew facility here in Phoenix.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Of all the places you worked, is there one that you think that's been like the most transformational for you as far as like actually progressing your career in coffee?
That's a tough one. I think there's stepping stones for sure. Once you start out somewhere and they teach you what they know, and then either you can move on and find out more. And, you know, each one of my career was kind of like a level up every single time, but I couldn't have gotten to the next one without having the one before.
Yeah.
So, you know, Press kind of built upon Bergie's, Mythical built upon Press, and then I for sure couldn't do what I do today if it weren't for all three of those beforehand, kind of building up to that. So they were all pretty transformational into evolving my understanding of coffee and how I wanted to continue working in it.
Yeah. That's been a big time as long as I've known you, which is, I do have to say, Adam and I are an enemies to friends story.
Yep.
I feel like when we met, we were very much pitted against each other.
Yeah, because we were like the same.
Because we're both very headstrong and very opinionated.
Yeah.
And working with someone who was just like, this will be fun to attack each other.
Yeah.
And I think, too, you're really good at what you do. I like to think I'm okay at what I do. And I think the two of us together, once we finally joined sides,
Yes.
it was a really good working relationship. And Adam kept me sane and would bring me beer while we were washing dishes at close. So
Yes.
that was very helpful.
There's been no shift beers during the making of this podcast.
No beers. They were not alcoholic. Don't worry about it. So talk about a little bit what you do now, because I think that when people think coffee, there's like two worlds of it. There's the coffee shop that your neighborhood, coffee shop, like Press, for example. You've got your like weird chains like Starbucks, Dutch Bros, and then you've got like grocery store coffee. But I think there's a missing link there, and I think that's what you do.
Yeah, pretty much. I think there's three like big levels to coffee. There's your local one, like you said, and then there's the one in between where I'm at right now, and then you have fully commercial. So kind of what I do right now is in between, where we have run like a private label facility that helps shops that are growing expand their production and expand their capabilities without heavily investing into different types of machinery and equipment.
$multi-million of commercial equipment.
Yeah. So Coffee Support is the name of the company, and that's the best way to describe it. It's just supporting other brands to grow their own business without taking huge risk. And we've allowed, we're working with Press and Provision and all these other local coffee companies so that they can produce lots of cold brew. They can do cans. We also roast at this facility, and so that expands their roasting capabilities, all within their metrics. So we're pretty much just following their guidelines and then helping them out along the way. So it's kind of like a collaborative effort in a way. And that's probably the reason I like it the most, because I'm not stuck with one brand with one culture mindset. I work with multiple brands, and they all have different cultures and mindsets, and I tailor what I do to that specific brand. And that's been really fun and helps solve a creative aspect as well as just evolve my understanding of coffee as a whole.
I think that is funny because I feel like that's part of the character arc for you, since I've known you, because I only knew you originally when Courtney was major enemies with you and was like, this ass thinks he knows everything about everything. And now it's funny that the growth on that is like, yeah, no, like everyone, like with coffee at the end of and anything in food and beverage at the end of the day, it's whatever people wants is technically right. And it's that growth from like, no, there's not like a right way to do anything. Like, it's just meeting other people where they're at in preference. And like, there are some things that you can do while roasting coffee to like really screw it up. But also like, if that's what you want, it's what you want.
Yeah, capitalism kind of wins in coffee for sure. I mean,
in everything.
Your egos don't win, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more about what people are buying and what they're interested in and what they continue to buy and what they like, what their preferences are. So it's a pretty wide range now that I'm into it of what people enjoy and what they want. And I'm no longer here to kind of tell them what they want, but more so just provide the best version of that I can.
How do you think your taste has changed kind of over your career as far as drinking coffee?
Well, I started out, I literally got hired and didn't drink coffee. They just liked me. Yeah. So that was cool. And then I honestly think it's full circle now in a way. In the beginning, you just kind of are understanding it. And my first big breakthrough with black coffee was at Peixoto in the early days, and had a pour over from Panama that tasted like green apples, and it blew my mind. And from then, it was just, everybody experiences this in coffee. It's just a quest for the best cup and the best espresso. And once you feel like you're making that, I feel like we got there at Mythical. I had an understanding of how to make really good coffee.
Yeah.
That satisfied, a lot of the people that were coming in looking for that, and then my own venture too. So, but once you hit that, you don't know where to go, and then everybody kind of gets lost. And once you reach the pinnacle, I'm making really great coffee and I know how to do it. Well, now what do I do with myself?
Yeah.
And so now working in more of a production setting, I've realized, it's not about the best cup for me. It's about the best cup for everyone. And how can we just push more coffee and get more people to drink it and enjoy it and find a coffee that suits them. And so my, quest for the best cup has kind of turned into more so that same thing, but for all levels, right? So from light roast, crazy things, anaerobic naturals, whatever, to medium roast, just blends, cold brew blends, drip blends, and then
sweaty coffee.
Yeah, sometimes dark roast. I still don't like that, but
still not to your taste.
There's something about dark roast coffee, truly dark, sweaty coffee, that is always fun to have because it's weird, bitter. It tastes like it's stronger consistently, and I think that's the funniest thing in the world, where you just have it and you're like, oh, I just ingested rocket fuel, let's go.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, there are some dark roasts that are okay and somewhat drinkable, but for the most part, people just do them wrong in the first place. So, but yeah.
Definitely has evolved.
Yeah. Yeah. Full circle. In a weird way, you stop caring, but by not caring, you almost care more because it's not about yourself, but it's more about the entire customer base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think ultimately, good coffee shops and just good coffee in general, it's about the full circle process of the growing of the coffee, the supporting the farmers, the actual brewing process, and then it's just the enjoyment.
Yep.
And I think sometimes that gets lost in this weird quest of like, how funky can I get this coffee?
Mm-hmm. And really that progresses the industry into, pushing further for higher quality cups, but it doesn't necessarily pay farmers more. So trying to just drink the coolest, craziest cup of coffee you can doesn't really do anything for the industry besides like push the top end level.
Yeah.
Whereas now with Coffee Support, we're focused on buying medium range coffees in like the 82 to 84 point range, $3 to $4 a pound, and buying those on contracts year over year that support those farmers heavily. So they know that their coffee is going to sell.
Mm-hmm.
And we're supporting importers and farming organizations that are really having bigger impacts on farms, helping them with their regenerative soil and help like providing them with just higher wages for their pickers and processing methods. So I really feel like now with the amount of coffee we're purchasing from quality sources, like we're actually making big impacts on the industry. Whereas before, you buy one bag of a crazy coffee, okay,
$100.
Yeah, $2,000 or whatever, versus like $30,000 of their entire lot.
Yeah.
Year over year. And so that's been really cool. And we have meetings like constantly about this at Coffee Support and kind of building a portfolio of green coffee that's sustainably sourced. And
is there someone on staff that like goes out to the farms consistently? Is there just like a traveler that's just like, all right, let's go and see what's happening at the farms?
Yeah, that's actually evolving right now. So we have a 10,000 square feet of green storage space. It can store like 5 million pounds of coffee.
Oh my God.
So we're actively trying to buy coffees, stock them here in Phoenix, and then make them more readily available to Phoenix roasters or any other roasters, and kind of provide a little bit of a hub here in Phoenix that is stocking sustainably sourced coffee.
That's so
Wild.
cool.
Yeah.
Will you talk a little bit or describe the point system and how that works? Because I don't think our listeners will be familiar with it.
Yeah. So basically every coffee is scored based on SCA grading standards to get the quality level. And that translates to how much farmers get paid. So anything above an 80 is considered specialty. Typically, these are all Arabica coffees, and really the top end of that is like the 90 range. There's really nothing above that. Things go to Cup of Excellence, and you can see the best coffees from every single country or subset, and they get auctioned off, and those are your top end coffees. But really, in the specialty world, we're mostly buying coffees between 80 and 84 points, maybe 85, and those are your like everyday drinkers even. And those are really, really nice coffees. So every point is like pretty distinct in a jump of quality. So it even breaks down into sub points of like a quarter. So 82.25 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think that stuff's so interesting, especially when I first started in coffee, learning about the seed market and just how all that works and how unfair and the fluctuation it is, especially for paying farmers. It's really crazy.
Yeah. Right now a lot of farmers and importers work on that seed price so heavily, and we pretty much watch it daily. And with kind of how the market is right now, it's been more volatile recently, and that definitely affects farmers. And I have farmers reaching out to me directly saying, hey, we don't know where the seed price is going to be, so we're just trying to get rid of the coffee in case it crashes. So can you buy it at this price, which is break even? And they're just scared because they don't know where the market's going.
That's spooky.
And so,
yeah,
it doesn't feel great when you have little farmers like reaching out to you, trying to just offload their coffee because they're scared of what the New York Stock Exchange has to say about the C price. So.
It's all those little things. I don't think you think about that when you go and get a cup of coffee. And obviously thinking about it can be very depressing. So you don't need to think about it every time you go get a cup of coffee. But there's the very large scale picture of coffee in the industry being what it is and having so many different facets. And even just like, knowing that the farmers with the stuff that doesn't grade well, they have to still try to sell it. And that's where you get a lot of your grocery store coffees.
Welcome to Starbucks.
Yep.
Yeah, then you can get into their weird labeling.
You know more about that than
I was almost a Starbucks coffee master back in my day.
Wow.
I
I
love
just-
the verbiage that any large corporation uses.
I'm curious, when you go to a coffee shop, what do you order?
Espresso and drip is usually the go-to. I mean,
Yep.
Jonah. Yeah. I generally don't order like milk-based drinks like cortados or cappuccinos unless, I mean, I just don't prefer that. But I'll try a specialty drink, but you got to get past the espresso and drip,
Drip test.
drip test.
The
So
drip test.
yeah, that can pretty much tell me everything I want to know, and then from there get maybe a specialty drink or something else. But
Kind of funny that that's the
That's
the
how you do it.
That's the circuit.
Yeah.
It's like the espresso will tell you a lot about whatever the specialty drink is about to happen to you. If they could do just the espresso, well, like, good, there's hope. And then you get like the drip coffee. Like, it's when you go to a coffee shop, it's nice to go to a place that they care about that process, because like doing the small batch pour overs are fine, but like the drip has to be consistent and should at least be a pretty large batch reflection of whatever they're doing on pour over. So it's really nice to like just go in and be like, hey, I'm gonna try this $3 cup just to get a good litmus test of where their care level is at.
yeah, nowadays I'm a lot more forgiving too. So maybe back in the day I would go somewhere and be like, is this going to be better than what I can do? That's what I would look
Yeah.
for. And nowadays I
The
just
slippery slope when you're pretty good at
Yeah.
what you do.
yeah, it's and there's no end to it, so it's a bottomless pit of just trying to find the best thing. And so now that I'm a bit more forgiving, I'm actually enjoying coffees a lot more and drinking more just from different shops to see what they offer and how they serve it. And that's been more interesting too, to get more feedback that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that a lot of people in the food and beverage industry in any facet can get into, like a pretty dangerous slippery slope of like, even when we go out to restaurants.
We're nightmares when we go out to restaurants, though.
Yeah. And like to almost to a degree where like we don't even always have fun when we do it, because we'll be halfway through and we're like, well, we could do better than this. Why did we even leave the house?
Why did we spend this money?
So it's funny that translates to any facet of it, where you're just like, there's a certain part where you have to stop and be like, oh, I need to just like stop caring and start like enjoying existing.
Just enjoy things.
Totally. And now I pretty much go solely to just support the people owning it,
Yeah.
and support the coffee industry as a whole. But if I enjoyed what I had, I'll post about it or share it or whatever. But even if I don't necessarily enjoy it that much, at least I was a patron and spent my money there on a place that has good ethics and good people working behind it. And that's kind of where I will tend to go nowadays. So I have just a few shops locally that I'll hit, and for those reasons.
Yeah.
Who are they? Tell us.
Well, there's, everyone knows this now if you follow me, but I'm a big Ariel Coffee fan. It's this little tiny shack.
We haven't gotten over there yet.
Yeah.
Areola coffee.
No, not that. But and we'll have to edit that one out. But Ariel Coffee is great. It's just literally, it was a shaved ice stand,
Cute.
which is like popular in Arizona. And I grew up going there, but they converted it into a mini coffee shop drive-through. And it was just two friends that were coffee enthusiasts at home, like brewing it, like, making drinks for friends, and decided, let's just try to do this on a low risk endeavor at a little shack. And it's next to my house, which is great. But legitimately, the first time I went, I was surprised at the quality, and I had great espresso, great pour over, and great specialty drinks. One of the owners is a bartender, so he just makes all these really
Great
clever
foundation for
concoctions.
drinks.
Yep. And it pretty much like blows everything out of the water, in my opinion. I mean, if it had a line and it was crazy busy all day, maybe my perception of it would change. Probably, definitely. And they would.
I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with that. And that's happened to different coffee trucks here that we know of, and like different shops as well. It's always great in the early days when they're not busy. But I think these guys would serve the same level of coffee if they were busy. And it's just great. It's simple. It's tasty. They buy from good roasters. They don't try to be pretentious about it. They're friendly. All their drinks are great. It's pretty amazing how simple it is and how well they execute. And I really legitimately couldn't ask for more. So that spot just hits all the markers for me and makes me want to open my own simple coffee drive-through.
Coffee window.
Man, it's just so crazy. But I also love Pear and oh man, I don't know. I'd have to like think. I forget, to be honest. I like going everywhere, but definitely just like mostly Pear and I like going to Berdina's too.
Yeah.
Because they're homies. But they also just buy from great roasters generally and rotate. And they're super friendly.
When there's not like in all the
it's
shops.
a cute shop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ariel sounds interesting. We'll have to try it.
Out there. Maybe
It's so simple but so good.
we'll go this week.
Okay. What's the specialty drink? Like you said, they're all good, but like, is there one where you're like, oh no, like this is the one that you should try?
Yeah, I mean, just definitely get espresso and drip, but they have an espresso tonic that
Ooh.
they use a tonic that is made. It's bottled by a couple of local guys that made the tonic, started bottling it, and now are kind of selling it to bars. So you'll see it. I don't know the name, so you'll have to go and try it yourself. But it's
Find it.
like
Metro Phoenix tonic.
much better than Fever Tree, which
Okay.
is generally the go-to for espresso tonics, and this one kind of blows it out of the water. But they also have your like specialty lattes that are all really great. Yeah.
Nice.
I love lattes.
Mhm.
That's why I want an espresso machine.
Specialty lattes, I think, are like, I don't know. That's why that's the third tier for us, because I think for us from the more of the culinary side, like we like the drip and espresso test. Those are good basics. And then the specialty is like, all right, well, how much like thought can you put into this full development?
And you get milk steaming and you get flavor
Texture
and
Yeah, flavor, texture, lots of other technique, and like some places that do specialty drinks. It's funny because I like the places that do specialty drinks really well and then don't do well with just like the regular coffee. Like that flip is always funny to me, where I'm like, you tried really hard in this one thing, but like you can't, you're just like masking the espresso. Like, good for you for figuring out this was your weak spot.
A lot of people get away with that. I mean, how often do people go in and order espresso and drip? That's not actually your main crowd. You know, you make your money on vanilla lattes, and if your vanilla latte isn't good, then nobody is going to buy your espresso or drip either. So it's like chicken and an egg.
Yeah, feeds into itself.
But
I miss making syrups. That was a lot of fun.
You were very good at it.
I'm glad you did that. I was never going to do that.
Like, that's going to be a no for me.
Not enough herb caramels, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious what you think about caramel macchiatos.
What is there to think?
Okay,
I just hate that. I mean, everybody's
broken.
going to say the same thing, but why macchiato? That's just the wrong thing. Like, just call it a latte,
So-
you know? So
we recently did the Wanderlust coffee tour that Xanadu put together. And
Good
my
episode.
favorite thing is one of the shops we went into, Jonah ordered a macchiato. Make him spit his wine out. And we don't look like we don't know what we're doing, but we're not like cool people.
Not a cool boy.
We're just not, we don't have that vibe. And that's fine. But one of the shops we go in and Jonah orders a macchiato. And of course you have that barista thing of, just so you know.
call them out. Which shop? No, I'm just kidding. Don't. Okay.
Just so you know, it's not the macchiato that you're thinking of. And Jonah was like, I hope it's the macchiato that I'm thinking of because that's what I ordered.
Oh, no.
So it just, every time that comes up, I think that's so funny. And I think at this point, if you're going into a specialty shop and you're ordering a macchiato and it's like $4, you know what you're getting. But I love the assumption that people still don't know the difference.
I mean, they don't, though. Like, there's a reason that's the autopilot response of, like, just so you know, this isn't going to be a 64-ounce iced latte with a cup of caramel in it. This is going to be espresso and just scare it with milk.
Yeah, you basically run into that at every single shop ever. You're just going to have people that come in and don't know what they want, and it's your job as a barista to be like kind and figure out what they want and what they're looking for.
And depending on the level of business, hurry the fuck up.
Yeah, for sure. It's just tough.
They're standing there staring at the wall, and you're staring at them, and the 17 people behind them are staring at you.
Yeah, you have to have patience for sure if you want to be good at your job as a barista.
What advice would you have for somebody who wants to get into specialty coffee? Because I feel like it's very intimidating to get that first job.
Mm-hmm. I have a lot of opinions about this. I think obviously everyone should be a barista. Maybe not obviously, but that is the base of everything, right?
Yeah, that's where you learn.
Yeah, and definitely it's a culture thing at every shop. You have all these different shops where people have worked at them for years, and other people go in and say, oh man, this place has a terrible culture and I don't like it and it's not for me, and then they leave and they're salty. But find a shop that fits your culture, and that has worked for me for the most part, being happy where I was.
Mm-hmm.
And then just if you want to stay in coffee, know that there's not a ton of money there.
Number one, big thing.
You're kind of doing it for the passion and because you care and you enjoy it, but kind of think forward and build your base. So if you're a barista, try and learn as much as you can and try and figure out what you want to do. If you want to move into training or management, and kind of like, if you want to stay in the coffee industry, look forward, because many people just become really good baristas and don't know what to do after. And
it's just latte art throwdowns and depression.
Yeah. And that's not good for anybody, like nobody finds satisfaction in that. And then they leave the industry feeling empty.
Yeah.
So I got lucky where I just kept progressing and kept learning more. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to roast because I don't want to sit behind a roaster and for 8 hours a day. I just have too much,
too high strung,
too much energy, and so yeah, I'm high strung. But
I gotta move, guys.
Yeah, no, but you still have to learn.
Yeah.
Right? So get as much as you can, and then kind of see where you fit in and see what you like to do. Training is a natural progression. I did a little bit of that. Management is, you can own your own shop. There's all these different avenues. They're all they're not super rewarding. I mean, but at least, and
Unless
I never thought,
for you, which is the weird, like,
if they are for you, do it.
There's going to be one barista that listens to this. It's like, this asshole.
What? No, I mean,
out here supporting coffee and just talking shit on me and starts pouring a swan at you just angerly.
There are career baristas that make more money than I do right now.
Oh, yeah.
So that is a total avenue. You can totally do that forever if that is what jives with you. And I think there's tons of people that make that happen. But there's probably only a few positions in coffee where you can be comfortable as a barista, where the culture aligns and you're happy and your shifts are perfect and you don't get burned out, right?
Yeah.
Just to be a barista forever. But a lot of us end up not liking the culture or get burned out based on the style of management or just the shifts and
just people
staring
at them. They stare at you.
Depending on what city you work in too. And if you fit with that customer base, and that all plays into like a longevity of a barista.
Yeah.
So I think if shops thought more about that, when hiring, if people will be just a good fit culturally, they'll probably stick around longer rather than if they're going to be good at the job.
Yeah.
Because I can pretty much train anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I trained a guy at our facility to pour like hearts, rosettas, and tulips in less than a month.
You couldn't even train Jonah in one night. So
yeah, well,
some people can't learn.
Use your ear there.
Look, ladies, milk is hard. You have to get the temperature right. You got to have control over your wrists. It's a whole thing.
Look, even I can do it.
So yeah, I got everything built up to where I am now, and I really like what I do now. There are literally like 3 positions in the entire state of what I do now, which is cold brew production. So it's very niche and very specific, but that's how coffee pretty much is when you start moving up. Either you own a shop or you're a roaster or you kind of work in some sort of production line. And that there's only a few ways out of being a barista. So it's tough, but if you're really about it,
You'll find it.
There's opportunities, and they're pretty cool, but they pretty much all require the base.
Helps to know what it's like to actually work at the shop level.
Yeah, I would even say my first ever coffee job was Starbucks. And I think just doing that level of production was probably more valuable to me than knowing a bunch about coffee before going and working in specialty.
And you learned what the true caramel macchiato was.
Yeah, and you got jaded.
Yeah.
There is something about that level of production, that certain amount of
Well,
jaded.
it's like when you're making 300 espresso drinks in 45 minutes. Like, that's otherworldly. Like, that's obviously not realistic for a specialty shop. But getting that mindset of, like, where should my hands be? Which cup am I picking up? Does this have syrup in it already? And getting into that mode, then you can be really efficient.
Speed training is very fun. It's something that a lot of specialty shop, like, it's not a bad thing, but we go into a specialty shop and you kind of like sit there and like, oh, there's been times where it's noticeable. Like, we were the last one that ordered and you're taking like 5 to 10 minutes on like your one drink. Like,
don't get me started
like,
on this.
what is happening back there? So it's funny to have any of that high production experience and just be like sitting there like, are they okay? Do they need help?
Can I come back there and help?
Speed is literally the backbone of every coffee shop. No matter what, no matter how fancy you are. Okay, maybe if it's a sit-down coffee shop, like
with your tasting menu.
Yeah, Proud Mary or something. But yeah, you have to be fast. And specialty coffee doesn't mean slow. You know, it shouldn't mean slow.
Right.
We made really, we got drinks out really fast at Mythical and whatnot, and did not sacrifice quality. So that's you have to have speed.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of places are missing that element. But also, interesting, like Starbucks sells more coffee than anybody, right? And they're a drive-through. So what I think about a lot is how could we start a drive-through or something that pumps out that much coffee, but the coffee was bought sustainably, right?
Yeah.
And that's why Ariel is so interesting to me as a drive-through and merging into that. And there's other shops that are opening drive-throughs, working on them. Infusion's working on one. If it might be open, but that is kind of the future. I mean, Seattle's been there forever. Seattle has drive-through coffee shops everywhere. Right. And if you could just plug in good coffee, and it's just like a switch. So actually there's the Fix here in Arizona. There's a couple other drive-throughs and
Bikini Beans.
They will ring a cattle bell of shame for you on your first time. And that's what I appreciate about them.
I can tell you how they served sustainably bought coffee
in
their bikinis. No, but
I just go there for the educational experience.
I'm supporting farmers.
FarmersOnly.com.
Oh, wow. That's a
Yay.
good segue. But a lot of the drive-thrus here are buying coffee that we roast at Coffee Support. That is our own house brand that we just private label for them and customize to their liking. And those are all coffees that are bought through us sustainably through farms that we're trying to continually support. And now those drive-thrus go through so much coffee, so much more than any specialty shop can go through.
Yeah.
Maybe the message isn't there of this is, the good coffee and the good buying practices, but at least it's being sold and being drank,
right.
and more of it is being used. So you're accomplishing the goal in a way, and there will always be the pears, coffees, and the other really nice specialty shops to push the message of the farmers more so. And but you need both in a way.
Yeah, totally.
It's nice to have the educational experience with people that care, but there's so many people that just don't care. So sort of force feeding it to them is somewhat necessary.
Yeah.
If people wanted to learn more about coffee, what resources do you usually recommend?
The internet. I mean, this is something I do think about a lot as well. It's really hard, pretty much you just learn from people, within your organization that maybe know more than you. But following different news, platforms that are posting blog posts, and there's podcasts out there, and then just kind of seeing who in the industry is advancing it and talking a lot, and try and see what kind of content they're pushing out. But then there's books as well. I really like Physics of Filter Coffee. It's like one of the best books about filter coffee, and then just trying to get a deeper understanding of what's happening when you're brewing pour overs and trying to understand extraction yield and some of the more technical things. And those books exist, and that's one of the better ones. But there are educational companies out there, like Barista Hustle, and you can take courses. But it just depends on the person and what you're trying to achieve, what you're trying to learn. There's tons of free content out there as well. And I would just say you kind of have to read a lot and sift through a lot and listen a lot. And just continually talk with your peers about it and the people that surround you in the local community, because I have learned everything from the people around me for the most part. Mm-hmm. And then once I got an idea from them or heard about style or something, I could go there, then deep dive into books or the internet about that specific topic. But there is so much in coffee, and it's such a small industry that there's not a lot of people talking about it. So you just, I've learned a lot from Infusion and talking with Paul and Patrick. And once I get ideas from them, furthering that on my own. But yeah, it's tough for sure.
Yeah, I know Jonah's a big fan of YouTube coffee videos.
Mm-hmm. YouTube coffee is lots of fun. It depends on the type of education that you're looking to get to. I feel like it's something that you roughly alluded to, where like if you're just trying to learn how to do latte art, like there's videos for that. If you're trying to actually learn about like what makes coffee sustainable, there's videos for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
to varying degrees of like quality and efficacy at explaining.
And recently there's been a lot, that's been the big boom, right? We see Lance and
Hoffman.
Jonah has a big crush on James Hoffman.
Hoffman, if he could just read to me on a daily basis, just like my bedtime stories, I'd be a big fan.
Yeah. And those guys are all doing it really well. And now, like back in the day, I never went to YouTube to try and learn anything, because I would go there and just see people that posted a video 5 years ago that is completely irrelevant today.
Rainy and off-putting.
Yeah, now there's a lot of really good information. And once you find the people that are putting out the right information and just kind of continually watch their videos and try to understand what they're saying and then go practice it yourself in your own shop, that's where you're going to make a lot.
What's your favorite coffee sin?
Oh, boy. I don't even know.
Mine is the Starbucks peppermint mocha.
Oh, I see what you're saying there.
It's always good.
The patron saint of coffee doesn't know how to sin.
My once a year pumpkin spice latte.
Do I even have one? I don't know. I really don't know. Let me think about it.
All right.
Well, you have so much access to good coffee. I'm thinking that a lot of our listeners are just, normal coffee drinkers at home. They have a drip machine. What if they want to get into more of the specialty at home? Like, what is your recommendation for getting started in that area?
There's so many ways you could go. I think with less money, maybe just buy a bag of coffee from your local coffee roaster. Probably, I don't know. You really put me in a corner on this one. There's so many ways you could go. Like pour overs are cheap.
Or pour over?
Yeah, I think French presses are a great way to start. I think everybody has a French press, and they're pretty cheap. You don't need a whole lot, and they're forgiving.
The recipes on them are like pretty consistent across the board. Like I feel like the French presses that on Sun Hero, like I think that full immersion brewing method with heat applied is something that a lot of people can get into entry level to like actually appreciate. Like, okay, trying a little bit harder it's like the smallest step up that I think you can get people on, because you don't have to like sit there and time your pours or do anything with weight. Like you do your weight, you pour your hot water, and you set a timer. Like it's very approachable.
I agree. I mean, a lot of people start with the French press. I'm pretty sure I did, but it's really forgiving. An AeroPress is pretty forgiving too, even though it requires a little bit more work. You'll have an AeroPress forever. I have the AeroPress I bought in like 2015 now, and I still use it. And
I want more things made out of AeroPress plastic, because that is
lasts forever.
Bananas.
Yeah. And then pour overs, and espresso's kind of the end. If you have an espresso machine,
getting there. We're gonna get one.
I just got one, and I've been working in coffee for 7 years. I never needed one, but I don't now. But now I wanted one, so I
It's
have
just
one.
fun to play around with. Like, and for me, I call back to earlier, like, can't do latte art. I understand conceptually how to do it, but like something I need to practice. And working in restaurants, I work at a restaurant where no one knows a damn about coffee, so it's one of those things where like I do know the most, and I would like to be able to show off. Be like, look, I can also like do this thing. Versus there, it's funny, they go full like dry cappuccino. There's people that are literally just like spooning the phone on top, and I'm like, oh, this is gnarly.
And then the customers get mad at you when it doesn't, stand up.
They're looking at it. They're like, excuse me, I can't. They hold it upside down like a
blizzard. You didn't do the blizzard flip. I want my money back.
Oh, where's that coffee shop? I want to go to there.
But Jonah, you kind of alluded to something there where you feel like you want to improve the quality, right? So when a lot of people, baristas, are getting into it and they have access to YouTube and they see people pouring cool latte art on Instagram and their shop doesn't do that, they now want to do that and achieve those things. And so then they go out and learn and try and implement it. But then that shop doesn't really necessarily want it or value it. And then that person moves on. And that happened to me. That happens to everyone.
Yeah.
And that's something I think baristas just kind of have to come to terms with, right? Like you can't be mad at the shop owner. They just are doing it the way they want to. Coffee's a low barrier to entry thing. You can have a drive-through, or you can have a 20-year-old second wave like coffee shop and just be mediocre, and there's a line out the door every day.
Or even have the what was it locally? They were really good. Hikiri, the van that's open
like
3 hours a week that like was pumping out really quality drinks, but like super limited hours. And I can't imagine that their overhead.
I think it's got to be like a part-time thing for them. I'm sure they have real jobs too.
Sure,
real jobs.
Yep,
I love that. I think that's a good segue, because I think a lot of times there's certain areas of the industry where it's like, oh, like if you're a chef, like that's a real job. Or, oh, if you're, a mixologist, which I fucking hate that word. Like that's a real job. But I feel like a lot of times like baristas get pigeonholed get a real job. I think even servers, like career servers, sometimes like people are like, no, when are you going to get a real job? That's just your pay for college job. And so I think it's really cool to see how you've kind of made that progression of barista to career and just how that is an option.
Yeah.
And I think also we need to pay people better so they can do the job they want to do.
Yeah, I think people use that term real job when they think people aren't making, a livable wage.
Yeah.
And which is true. But the crazy part about coffee is it's like a server where it's hard to leave a serving job because you make good money doing it. But some people want to be baristas and servers forever because they fit in great. It's a great job for them. And I think that's totally,
they're making enough money for them.
Yeah. And that's great. That's awesome. And they should, because they enjoy it and they're happy. But in coffee, I barely make any more money than like a good barista, busy barista at a shop, like a busy shop where they're paying their baristas properly. They make good money, and the crazy part about specialty too is people drive-through baristas are making more than brick and mortar specialty shops.
Pat Chad about his next venture, Bikini Beans.
Yeah. Guarantee Bikini Beans makes more than any specialty barista, except for maybe the few niche exceptions, but which is just so sad. But there's another reason why you should maybe drop your ego a little bit, and try and be more open-minded to the industry, because if you want to make a livable wage and keep your job in coffee, maybe you can't have all of it,
Yeah.
It's an interesting topic that you can probably go on for hours.
Yeah,
it's like this weird, what's the weird dichotomy? And like, it's funny because a lot of the people that say like, oh, when are you going to get your real job? So like, I serve in a nice restaurant. I make more money than your average server, I would say. I make more money than Applebee's servers because they're falling apart because there's no one wants to go to their neighborhood anymore. It's so sad. But like the people that are asking those questions, like, oh, what's your next thing? Like, the people that are asking that are making $300,000 a year, and like, no one's gonna. I'm sorry, Grandpa, I can't make as much money as you. I don't own a company.
Yeah, or even they just have like a desk job that seems professional and
Yeah.
But you're making how would you leave the industry serving where you do now and make more money?
Exactly. There's not.
There's not a way. You know, it would take a decade of experience and
working at a desk job and grinding in a fully different environment that like is definitely not for everyone.
No, I tried it. I made just as much money as I do now when I was in college at a desk job. It was easy, but I was miserable.
Yeah.
And as soon as I left, I got way happier making less money and then stuck it out in the industry and and now I make a livable wage. But yeah.
Love food, hate money.
Yeah, there it is.
Money can't buy you happiness, but coffee can.
Well, I think there's also this very social aspect to working in coffee shops. And like, I know for you and I both, like, a lot of friends come out of just regulars. And there's this certain level of community that comes out of that that's more fulfilling, in my opinion, than sitting behind a desk all day.
1,000%.
Where it's just, not only do you live and you hang out in your community, but you also get to work and serve your community. And I think that's a really cool piece of it. And I would take the pay cut to have that any day.
Mm-hmm. And I used to think that was the trap, right? Like it's fulfilling you, right? Having that social aspect. And I used to think, oh, wow, what a trick, like, talking to customers and meeting friends and
those idiots, they're enjoying their life.
Yeah. Like, and I'm stuck here making this way, I could have a desk job and whatever, but no, the social aspect is amazing and I thrive off of it and certain people don't, right? Like certain people don't like that. So I think it is a win, but I used to kind of be jaded about that aspect of it, that it kept me around in the industry, the social aspect.
Sure.
And I thought that was a negative thing, but now I definitely don't think it is.
Yeah. Gotta get those social capital gains.
Social capital gains.
And I'm in a warehouse with just 10 guys and girls that, we don't get a ton of social aspect, but at least I still go out and make it a point to talk to, people in the coffee community and go into shops when, on the weekends or after work. And then we get to work with, 5 or 6 local coffee companies. So I get some social aspect there, but definitely there was like, immediate, want for that as soon as I left.
Yeah.
Being a barista.
I miss interacting with people.
Yeah, truly.
Even though we sometimes hate them.
Oh my
and
gosh.
talk shit.
Okay, so actually that was going to be my last question for you because we're getting close to time. Is there like a customer interaction that just like stands out in your brain? Like it's your party story. It's the one that's just like, how did we get here?
Oh man, the COVID ones were unreal, right? Like when people had to wear masks or whatever, those were ridiculous. And then, I mean,
everyone lost their mind at that point.
Yeah, it was a really hard time for service industry.
If you try to set up a rule for anyone, they were like, "You're taking away my rights," and I'm like, "You've always had to wear clothes."
Yeah, at some point they all just kind of melted together, and I tried to forget them.
It's a dark day. It's a dark time.
Yeah, bringing up his mom like that.
No, there's not one that sticks out. Maybe episode, when I come back for round 2 of this, I'll have some ready for you. But yeah, right now, no. COVID was ridiculous though. And can't believe that was a thing. You know?
And it was a very weird, and I think also for us, it came at a time where the shop that we were opening had just opened and then COVID hit. And that was really crazy. Yeah, you'll have to get us some good customer stories. I love that stuff.
Is there a specific question that was always asked that you were just like on full autopilot? Because there was like where I work right now, there's certain questions where first 2 syllables come out, I know where it's going and I can answer. And they're like, "Oh, so you've been asked this before? What's your favorite coffee one?"
Oh man, what's a 1-in-1? So that one's good. And the response, my auto response for what's a 1-in-1 took, man, like 3-4 months to dial in that response because it's so complicated and you don't want
What
to
is
offend
it?
them, just like, can I get a caramel macchiato? You don't want to offend them.
Yeah, you don't want to hurt their feelings or
You
make
know?
them feel dumb.
At the end, I would just straight up plug in a caramel vanilla latte. I wouldn't even try to describe it. They just say caramel macchiato. Okay, I know what you want. You know,
Yeah,
I'm not going to sit
exactly.
here and tell you.
What's a 1-in-1 caramel macchiato?
No, didn't we?
It's a 1-to-1 sugar to milk
This is the
ratio.
thing at Mythical. The correct response to what's a 1-in-1 is I'll get your iced vanilla latte out in just a sec.
It's not for you.
The auto response. It's like the auto reply. It all goes back to just an office job. It's just
Okay, honestly though, I think that taking the high ground of if somebody asks for a caramel macchiato at your specialty shop and you make them something close and it's delicious and it makes them happy, you're doing your job really well.
Yeah, definitely.
at the end of the day, like, you need business.
Yeah.
And I think it circles back to like, yep, just put your ego aside, like make your third wave coffee that makes you super happy for yourself, but also like if you want to have a shop that stays open in a Instagrammable neighborhood, like get your iced caramel macchiatos at the Ready Boys.
Yeah, and maybe in the beginning you would get offended that you know at what we're saying right now.
Uh-huh.
No, you need to explain it. But I definitely think after a few years, you know, you realize that's not what is important.
Right. Well, and it's also when somebody comes and asks you for something and you're in a service industry position, your job is to educate and not to be a dick about it.
Yeah. Or just give them what they want.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Serve
especially
them
if you
the
have
drink that
access
they
to
want.
it. Like if you're working in a third wave shop, you have ice, you have milk, and you have caramel, and you're like, I'm not gonna give you your fucking caramel macchiato. Like you're just being a bully.
So what is a 1-in-1?
Auto
Yes.
response. Get the auto reply going. Full
It's
robot.
been like a year since I've had to explain it. It's 2 single shots of espresso. 1 gets a little bit of steamed milk,
Why would you want that?
so that you can taste the espresso by itself and how it pairs with milk, steamed milk,
Why'd you give me this gross bubbly water with it?
to cleanse your palate.
Also, anyone that doesn't like sparkling water
Yeah, get
can't
out.
be
This is
trusted.
not your
I
podcast.
just don't understand. Like I remember being 5 once.
Why is it spicy?
Why is it
Yeah.
spicy?
Like it's so strange to me whenever people are like, "Oh, sparkling water is gross." I'm like, "So you don't like things that are nice?"
What
Peasant.
Are you poor?
Do you hear that?
What's that?
The cowbell of shame is being run. Time to get over to bikini beans.
On the next episode of Love Food Hate Money review.
Oh, and have you ever been?
Bikini
Have you
beans.
looked at their menu?
Their menu's
Oh.
upsetting. I've never been. Jonah's been.
It is. I've had the kettlebell of shame run on me because I was helping someone move once, and it was across the street from Bikini Beans, and we were like, "Well, this is good. This is for the
Well, and
comedy."
it was 3 cars of guys
Yeah.
back to back that were helping our friends move.
The drive-through has a really tight like hairpin turn, so like at one point, all 3 of us were just facing each other with the windows rolled down. Like, this is the strangest experience that's ever happened. Their menu is bonkers. Like, you go to a Starbucks and iced caramel macchiato.
You
iced
had to
peppermint
say the right
mocha,
size. Venti Grande tall.
and theirs were like bra sizes. So it was,
How are they not canceled in our like modern 2022?
in 2022, year of virtue. How is this
House
happening?
Bikini, it's like the redheaded stepchild of the coffee industry right now.
Oh,
It's just
yeah.
like no one wants.
It's like definitely like, are we okay with this? But I mean, you've still got like the Twin Peaks.
Yeah, Twin Peaks.
Yeah, it's the Hooters of
Hooters. Yeah, exactly.
coffee.
Every
Just
industry has
no
one.
one saw it coming, right?
The burns. The burns.
The steam wand in that building has got to be just a.
That'd be terrifying.
The people are worried about like the old men harassing the women, but they're actually like, no, the only real monster here is that damn wand.
I wouldn't dare wear a white shirt to the shop
Let
to get it
alone-
dirty, let alone a bikini.
Oh, but no, their menu is unhinged. Highly recommend if anyone wants some just like good comedy reading, just a little light peruse of the Bikini Beans menu. Read to you by James Hoffman.
That's his next videos.
We'll
Review.
send that over as a suggestion. I'm sure he'll listen to us. Well, thank you so much for
Thanks,
your
buddy.
time
Thank
and
you,
for
guys.
coming over and talking about coffee. And thank you for listening. This podcast is edited by John Watkins of Feathered Fiction Studios. We do have a Patreon. We have a website. We have merch. This is still a communist podcast, and you're not giving us your money. So you guys are failing us as a whole.
Agenda's not going very far.
Get in touch with us on social media, and please like and review this podcast if you enjoy it or if you don't enjoy it. Jonah's still waiting for hate mail. He'd really love that. That is his Christmas wish. His 2 front teeth, we've put that on a back burner. We'll get to that later.
They're big enough as is.
That's all I got.
That's it?
Yep.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. I made a mess.